and so yeah, we're going into part two now,
Yeah.
about how products influence the way that we behave and have an impact on the way that on our habits and on the way that we generally do things. And I think the most obvious like example of something that has influenced us
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
but yeah, exactly. It's like it can be anything, and it'll like we'll use it in a way that we want to use it, but at the same time it is going to dictate to a certain extent the way that we are going to interact with it, and the way that we're going to then like change our day or change our behavior around it,
Mm,
which is super interesting.
yeah. And I think that's a great point. Again, maybe it's coming full circle, but like the great point about my idea about the difference between engineering and design is that engineering, once the goal has been met, like, this part needs to meet this part and be moldable. The the whole notion of humans interacting with it and influencing their life and living with it um, is not necessarily as important to an engineer. But for us as designers, that is the whole point. That is the entire point. Is how do we influence someone to live in a way that is better for them or for the environment or whatever metric you want to use. Maybe that answers my first question. Answers the first question that you asked me, and that is what design
Yeah.
is influencing people in that way. Mm. Uh, so so if the switch is my like example of changing behavior, the phone is yours. You've picked up on the phone. What would you say is a good point of a phone changing the way we live, and what is a bad point? Now I'm interviewing you.
We've switched it up, yeah. um Yeah, wow. Okay. Well, yeah, the phone, it's like because it's so present in our lives now, right? Um, I feel like there are so many other products that we could look at and we would notice how much it changes the way we live. Um, and it changes the way we behave. But with the phone, I guess, I mean, a good side of it is obviously like, you're able to, I mean, it's insane that we are just able to connect now, just because, I saw you on Instagram one day and oh, I decided to follow you, and a year later, okay, we're
Yeah,
doing this. And that's so cool. It's insane. And it's so special because now we're having such an interesting conversation, and I don't think that we would have met any other way, or there are very small chances we would have met any other way. But I think that obviously it takes away also from a social aspect, um, where like you'll get very distracted by your phone, and I think that I see it in myself. I am addicted to it. Like there is this like need for it,
yeah,
and it's scary.
yeah. I feel that. Yeah, I do. And I actually got, well, again, I don't know how honest I should be, but I actually got told off at work.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, for using my phone so much. So I can, uh, I can understand that. It's just always there, and um, you get a notification. You go, okay, I'll just check out what that said, and then you know, just look at that notification, and then 10 minutes later, you've refreshed Twitter 3 times and gone through Instagram twice. It's like, where did that time go?
Exactly, exactly. It's like it's I mean, the designers behind this, not just the phone, but because the phone is brilliant, uh,
Mm.
but also the digital product designers behind the apps and TikTok. And like I was talking to this guy and he was telling me like TikTok is brilliant. Like what are you talking about? Even if you don't like the content, even if you don't like the people who use it, even all these like this judgment that you have of people who use it or whatever. Even still, you can't deny the brilliance of this app because people spend so much time on these apps. People spend so much time watching this stuff and they waste so much time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, there's two ways of looking at that. Like, what's the saying? Like, time you enjoyed wasting is not wasted
Yeah,
time. So there's that aspect, and like, fine. I found a funny video. It made me laugh. That's great.
yeah,
But I think there's a limit to that. And like you said, like, you just endless. There was the documentary on Netflix. I can't remember what the name was. Came out last year, all about people, software designers,
yeah.
and they were talking about, the infinite scroll of Instagram,
Uh-huh.
where like when I first started Instagram a very long time ago, you got to the end of a page and there was and it said page one, go to page two, and that was a physical button you had to press that said go to page two. And by the time you get to page three or four, there's a subconscious level of like, okay, now I'm on page four. I'm really deep into this now. I should stop. And if you just take away that and have the infinite scroll, you could scroll down to page 20, page 30, and because that physical stop wasn't there, you wouldn't even notice it. I guess TikTok is like that on steroids, where it's just
Oh
like
my God.
we are showing you everything. You don't even know what page you're on. You don't know what day of the week it is. Just here's the content. Yeah,
You don't have to scroll, right? It's just
yeah,
like,
it's just there. Yeah. Um,
and that's such a brilliant example of the way that behavior changes according to the way things are made.
mhm.
Because yeah, just the fact that they removed this page thing, I didn't even know about it. Just the fact that they removed that, you spend so much more time doing it.
Yeah. That was always the joke while I was at uni and college and things as well. Like, if you were Googling how to, Googling some information or whatever, the joke was if it's not on the first page of Google, then it doesn't exist, you know? But guess what? Google have taken away pages as well. Now you can scroll forever,
Oh, really?
particularly on the images. I think it's an infinite scroll. I can't remember actually about the main like website feed, but images is infinite scroll. Um, so yeah, I think that's a great example of how, and we're finding countermeasures to stop people spending so long on it, like the screen time in iPhone. I guess Android has it as well, where it's like you've been on Instagram for 2 hours a day. Now we're going to lock the app.
Yeah.
So we're like, there's always the next battle uh, of fixing things. But I tried that blocking the app thing, and all it does, it just says you've used Instagram for 2 hours. Now we've blocked the app, or you can unlock it by pressing this button. I was like, yeah, go on, I'll press the button then. But
Because I never used that functionality. I mean, I have used screen time, like where they tell me how much time I've spent on my phone, but I never used that thing where they tell you to lock, where they lock the app for you. And I was gonna say, while you were talking, I was like, oh my God, I can imagine the amount of people who would who would just get mad at their phone
yeah,
because it's locked the app.
yeah. Um, and yeah, you just press one button and it lets you back in. You can set a passcode so that you can like maybe tell someone the passcode, but you don't know. And then it will definitely lock you out. But I've had it in the past. I went live on Instagram once, and then halfway through the live session, the app locked down because like you've been on it, and I was like, no, this is my job. Like I need to do this. Back in. So yeah, I just turned that off, and now it's yeah, just got to keep an eye on it with the screen time, like you mentioned.
Yeah, yeah, and it's so difficult to keep yourself because it's also this like you also mix in, like you said, the human side of things. It's like you have to take into consideration human behavior and human psychology, and I think that the fact that design groups up so many disciplines is so cool. It's so interesting because these people wouldn't necessarily have worked together if the designer wasn't there to be like, okay, well, I would like to find out more about the way that humans react to, the way that serotonin, gets produced because of this thing.
Mhm.
And it's super, super cool that you can go and you can talk to experts. And as a designer, you have this. I mean, this is part of your job, as in you can go and do your research this way and talk to a bunch of experts. Um, but yeah, I don't.
Um, I do quite enjoy that part of the job actually, because I've only ever worked in design consultancy, which is like a separate company that doesn't make anything, but we just advise other companies, right? And that means that we're advising companies that, whatever product we're designing for them, this is their specialty. This is the area that they're experts in, and we're coming along like, oh, we just had this idea, like, we're not experts in that field.
Yeah,
And you have to learn so much so quickly by asking so many questions and talking to so many people to try and like not be not be stupid about what designs you can do. Because
yeah, yeah, yeah.
early on in the process, I do some stupid designs because I don't know, like particularly in while I was working doing medical design,
Yeah.
you have to become an expert in whatever specialist procedure is going on.
Yeah, because you have to know like all the technical limits that you have and all the stuff like
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah, and also both the technical side, the legislation side, and you're not allowed to do certain things,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
not allowed to use certain materials and stuff. But then also, and again, maybe this ties back into behavior and how design can influence behavior. But particularly in medical design, if you could talk to a surgeon and say, okay, what's your process for this operation, and where do you find that you need to pick up three things when you only have two hands? Like, and in that case, where it's a reactive change because like they already have that problem, but it is influencing how they might work later on, and simplifying that. So that was, I don't do much of that anymore. Don't really do medical anymore, but that was always an interesting thing.
Yeah, because you, I mean, it's so much easier, not easier, but it makes the whole process so much more like rich in quality of the work because you know exactly, okay, this person has told me from their experience, from their medical experience, for example, that this is an area where there's a problem and this is the reasons why. Okay,
Mhm.
so from this, you're the analysis that you have of the context of of your design, of your product, is so much more interesting and like, you know, there's so much more precise stuff that you have
Mm.
to, then create a product that's better adapted to the whole situation, to the whole problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of like, okay, we'll open into something else, but because I've started this new degree now, this master's degree in biomimicry, design by biomimicry.
Hmm.
And in this field, it's very much like, okay, here are a bunch of experts. This guy is an expert in, the spiders of South America, and this guy is an expert in, starfish in the Atlantic Ocean. And okay, how do I use all of this data, and as a product designer, how can I use this different information to apply it to human industry, you know? And I love the fact that you can bring and you can group a bunch of people who have nothing to do to, like, they're experts in such different things, and get them to work together and speak the same language to create something, useful.
Mm. Yeah, that's really interesting, and what a set of niche expertise that is, which is great because we always think designers are like generalists, and we just know we know a lot about, no, we know a little about a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
We know some bits of lots of things, and then to talk to these people that are like experts, and that their job to do this one thing extremely well, I'm in awe of that all the time because yeah, I wouldn't have the discipline to be able to to think about one thing for so long.
Right. As soon as a project is like longer than 6 months, I'm like, okay.
Yeah, that's a long yeah, yeah. And maybe that's why I think that's probably why I started Instagram and YouTube as well, because so I could like just do something different, a little bit different, uh, and and yeah, that to be able to reach out and talk to people like that. Um, do they have a do you find that they ever have like rivalries between each other, like, or are they
I don't think that I've had enough time to see the way that they, interact together. I've only just started in January.
okay?
So I think that that'll come because especially when you're talking about a group of people who, and they're not all scientists. Because when they're all scientists, they're friendly. And I mean, most of the people I saw until now, they're very friendly with each other. But then sometimes when you have people who are doing very, very different things, like for example, if you talk to an engineer and you tell them I'm a product designer, I feel like there's a lot of judgment as well sometimes. There's a lot of like, but what do you do exactly? Like, like I could do that. Like you know what I mean. Like an engineer also creates products, but as you said, it's not exactly in the same way. And I think that there is a little bit of like, how do I say this? Because there's such experts in one field, I feel like there is a little bit of I know more than you do. Come on, I have like 5 PhDs. What are you talking about? There is a little bit of that, but no, like honestly, especially when you're talking about biomimicry, at the moment, people who are actually using biomimicry in their work, it's a lot of people who are like genuinely concerned about environmental problems, and I think that the fact that they're all talking about this subject that is very urgent pushes them to like automatically be like, okay, we're all working together, we need to find a solution together. And so there's a lot less rivalry or problems like that, I feel.
Well, that sounds really good. It sounds like I kind of feel like if there's a healthy amount of like I know loads about this stuff, then that's cool. And then everybody brings that to the table and gets the job done. That sounds great.
But yeah, well, sorry, I'm just yeah. And what I've noticed is that when you're talking to like scientists and experts who are studying, a being or an ecosystem or something like that, they're super eager to talk to someone who does not know what they do. Because a lot of the time, people who don't know what they're talking about, like people who have never heard about this little starfish in the middle of the ocean, these people will have so many questions that you, as the expert, haven't thought of.
Mm.
And I think that it's beneficial in both ways.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I guess like at a point like that, it's like there's no such thing as a stupid question, if you because they might not have thought about it because that's a really good point. Yeah.
Yeah, there's this video that I'm going to release soon about biomimicry, and where I talk about how there are these little beings in the water who make glass at room temperature underwater. Yeah,
Oh.
Isn't that insane? Thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. It's been really fun, and yeah, I can't wait to see the videos that you've got coming out soon about the biomimicry, like you say, and yeah, this has been really fun. Thank you very much.